Tomorrow evening, there's an opportunity to, if you are, as I imagine you are, angry, frustrated, fed up after the murder of 80-year-old Ruth Dalton in Seattle. There's going to be a memorial walk held for her tomorrow in Seattle. It's going to start at the site of her murder, and it's going to continue down to a nearby park. If you are unfamiliar with this story, Ruth Dalton, 80 years of life, was living in Seattle, working as a dog walker. Community just loved her. She was in her car. Had her own dog, Prince, in the car, also other dogs that she was taking care of, when an 8-time felon came up to her in broad daylight and carjacked her, ripped her out of the car, tossed her on the street, dragged her down the street, eventually hit her with her own car, killed her, and then murdered her little dog, Prince, stabbed the dog to death, and threw its body in a garbage can at a nearby park. So just a horrible, unfortunately all too common example of some of the violent crime that is occurring in Seattle. Meanwhile, Ruth Dalton's granddaughter, Melanie Roberts, has been trying to channel her frustration into something positive. She agreed to join us today to just reflect on, really the horror of the last few weeks for her and for her family, but also to talk about this memorial walk that will be happening in Ruth Dalton's honor tomorrow evening in Seattle. Melanie, welcome to Undivided.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, first, our condolences to you, to your family. How are you doing?
We're getting through. Every day is a little different. Some days it's just sad and heavy. Other days it's fired up and ready to take it on. Just every day I just want to make her proud and represent her best way I can, my grandmother.
Yeah, I've seen, so many pictures shared of her, and I'm a big dog person, and so I just know she was a good person. I know she was a good woman. Anybody who loves dogs that much, I'm like, I know that person, just like heart and soul, was awesome. But tell me about your grandma.
She was, I've been calling her a chameleon these last 2 weeks. She was amazing. She figured out what it was that people were missing in their lives, what they needed. Mother figure, grandmother figure, spiritual advisor, just an ear, and she became whatever it was that people needed from her. She was so generous and so loving. I can't even put it into the right words. Like, people were always better off by knowing her. There hasn't been a single person in my lifetime that I have ever heard say a bad thing about her, because she's just that genuine, loving, awesome person who will definitely tell you if she disagrees with you, but always in a supportive way. And she was incredible.
Yeah, you were telling me before we started that you got married 2 months ago, and your grandma was able to be there. I mean, reflecting on that as someone who recently got married myself, I mean, in hindsight, how important is it that your grandma was able to be there for that?
It was incredible. And she wasn't feeling really well at the time, so a friend drove her up to be there. I said, I will go pick you up myself that morning and bring you back up if I need to. Don't even care, in my wedding dress and all. But she was there, and she was very supportive of myself and Joshua and our kiddos. She was proud. She's told people that she was proud of that. Her support, while never required, has always been there, and has always meant so much. My daughter is really missing her right now. We did get to see her a couple days before she was killed. We all went out to a nice lunch together, and my stepson turned 16 the day after it happened. So just,
yeah,
her support's been everything.
And I don't want to make you kind of relive everything from that, but this is something, as soon as it happened, it's all over the news, obviously the tragic nature of it. How did the family find out that it was your grandma?
Well, the grapevine, honestly. Most of her friends knew that I was her contact for just about anything. I was her power of attorney for years. I had her healthcare directive on file. I was and am her person. It took the grapevine getting to one of her friends that had my number, and she called me up. It was about 1:40 that afternoon, and told me that she had some hard news and told me what happened. And I just tried to gather the information so I could verify. Like, that was in the forefront of my mind, is verify that this is true. Not that I would think that one of her friends would lie about something like that, but verify before. Like, that's like, it's the motto to me. I went down to my safety department at work because we have some ex-police officers, and I just wanted to know, how do I verify this? How one of them recognized enough of the information that I was saying to say, yeah, I saw an article come across the news this morning. Do you want to see it? So I sat down on my computer and I looked up the article, and I didn't get one paragraph in before I said, that's my grandma. And they said, well, how do you know? Like, there's no name here. There's no anything. And I'm like, there's not a lot of 80-year-old dog walkers in Madison Park. And that's my grandma. So was able to get a hold of somebody in the Seattle Homicide Division. They couldn't officially tell me her name either. But enough of what I was saying matched up that they said, we don't have a reason to believe that this is anybody but your grandmother. So that's how I found out.
Wow. When the details come in, and how do you try to, and I imagine it's going to be an ongoing process for a long time, but how do you try to make sense of something so bad, so horrible happening to such a good human, such a good person?
I fall back on faith, on the faith that my grandmother helped me build from a young age. And one of her favorite Bible verses from 2 Corinthians is, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And what that meant to her and means to me is, she's not here on earth with us anymore. She's not in her body, but she's in a better place. And that I hold on to that, because if I dwell too much on the physical, it's harder to get through. And I want to be strong for her. I want to be strong for the causes that are coming out from this incident, things that have been not cast into the light because it's always been there, but that is a focus right now. I want to do what I can with that focus to better things.
And please feel free to speak plainly, even if you worry it might offend me. But, as soon as this happened, I'll say I immediately, on this show was, livid, obviously. But, I hate to make things like this political, but in my mind, there are reasons why something like this could happen. And, unfortunately, it's not the first horrible, random, violent attack that we've experienced in Seattle, where you're talking about someone who is like the most innocent possible victim. I was immediately reminded of Ina Kwan, a pregnant woman who was shot to death in her car with her husband. For you, does it bother you to have people talk about what happened to your grandma under a political lens, or about the crime crisis, et cetera?
So first and foremost, my goal as a granddaughter, as her representative, is to make sure people know who she is and remember what she has devoted the majority of her life to, which is God, animals, kindness, love. That's my granddaughter duty. On my personal Melanie level, I'm mad. I have so many questions on why this was able to happen. And I don't have the means to dig into it myself. So I'm doing interviews like this, and I'm going to ask for help finding out why this happened, how this could have been prevented, where the failings were. And there's multiple levels here that I want to tear into. And I'm mad, and I'm sad, and I miss her, and all the things. But I know that my grandmother would be completely okay with being a springboard for change, that her murder could be used in a good way, she would support her positivity for change, for the better, for someone else's grandma, for someone else's mother or daughter or son. This could have happened to anyone. And on, again, my personal note, this guy messed with the wrong grandma. This was not the woman that was going to be an easy mark. And I think he found that out quickly that day. And I think he's going to realize that he made a big mistake in the future.
You know, when you talk about being this tragedy being a springboard for change, as you've learned, I mean, you have a Facebook page right now. People can join it if they'd like. It's called Remembering Ruth Dalton, where you're constantly posting updates and pictures and things that you've learned about the suspect in this case. When you say a springboard for change, what do you think, from what you know right now, what needs to change?
Well, and again, I don't have all the answers and I don't have all the information. I honestly didn't watch any interviews or any news media for quite a while because I was so focused on my duties for her. But what I've come to hear and want to confirm is that he possibly was being housed by the city of Seattle like vouchers. That upsets me.
Yeah.
The fact that, in my opinion, he should have had his third strike in 2003 and it got amended down to a non-strike offense, that upsets me. Here are two instances in my mind where the system failed her, that he was out in 2017 instead of being in prison for life, that he was housed in Seattle in close enough proximity to be in Madison Park and try to carjack her that day. There needs to be change.
Have you heard from has the mayor talked to you? Have you heard from any elected officials who've reached out?
Elected officials, no. Nobody's reached out to me.
The mayor has not spoken to your family?
No, ma'am. No, I have not heard from anyone. I have saw your report about Dave Reichert messaging on Facebook or on his page, and I went and I read that, and it was very nice to have this acknowledged by someone not in power, but in a place to spread the word more. I'm trying to spread the word of all of this and make people aware of it that aren't, or it's not just another killing in Seattle, not to me. And I don't want it swept under the rug, and I don't want it to be quiet. I want it to be talked about.
Yeah, I'm sorry that the mayor has not reached out to your family. I don't know why that bothers me so much, because it's such a simple thing to do. That's really disappointing. I did not expect you to say that.
I hear he's going to be at the walk tomorrow.
Okay.
Along with some city attorney's office people, the chief of police. There will be some people representing different departments there. But as of now, no, I have not heard from him.
So let's talk about the walk. And I'll also say I just see how much you've, there's a level of positivity to this Facebook page where, you're updating the public on what happened to the other dogs that were in the car and then being able to make it home. You also shared the story of a local plumber who came to your grandma's defense just in the interest of, looking at something positive. Can you tell me the story of this man?
I can. One channel did report it. He doesn't like the publicity. He doesn't really like to be the front page, but I talked to him for about 90 minutes. We had a wonderful conversation. His name is Damon. I won't release other parts, although it's on the page. He said that there was a truck stopped in front of him and he didn't know what was going on. And as he kind of tried to go around, he saw what he thought was an Uber gone wrong situation. And then as he got a little closer, he realized what he was looking at, and he tried to step in and help her. Got a knife waved in his face for the troubles. He went back to his van and he got a bat and he tried to help my grandmother. He couldn't get a good hit in because grandma was in the way, trying to fight. But he was able to break out the windows of the vehicle, which did allow the client dogs to escape. And he tried to stop him from running her over, but wasn't able to. And I know that that is hard on him. And I'm grateful and so thankful that he was there and he ran to help a stranger because he told me, I looked at her and I saw my mom. I saw somebody brutalizing my mom, and that's not something I will stand for and stand around and allow. And I'm assuming that the person that was in front of him, he said he was on the phone. So I'm assuming he was calling 911. I'm assuming he was trying to help. Damon physically stepped in to help and ended up saving those dogs because I have no doubt that if those dogs remained in the car, they would have come to the same fate that Prince did.
Yeah, and the foresight to do that. I mean, so the dogs, I know the hits kind of scattered, which I imagine your grandma loved every single one of those dogs, and to know that they're all back home, right, with their
Yes.
families. Yeah. The walk that's happening tomorrow for people who have heard the story about your grandma, who just want to be able to, in some way, stand up for her. What can they do tomorrow evening?
So we are the Friends of Madison Park are hosting this walk. I'm kind of just along for the ride, and they've asked my approval every step of the way. But I'm so, again, grateful and thankful. I've said that so many times because it's true. They've taken this over. They have arranged all of this, and they are partnering with Paws and Pasadena. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know. I'm not from Seattle. To hopefully have some adoptable animals there that day too.
Oh, wow.
That will be walking. Don't know if that's going to happen. We're trying. There's a lot of loopholes and things to have to try to go through with volunteers, but that's a big point. Prince came from Paws, my grandma's dog. She got him from Paws.
Yeah.
And they want to help. People can support by coming to walk if you want, dog friendly walk. We're starting at the scene off East Harrison and Martin Luther King Jr. Way and walking down to Madison Park. I think it's right around a mile, maybe slightly over the route that they're planning on taking. And we're going to be there. We're going to walk. We've got some buttons and some flyers and some a big poster banner to walk. And some people said there's going to be chanting. I don't know. I'm just there to support the people who are supporting me. It's been an amazing community outpouring of love and support. And I feel like I just inherited a really large family.
Yeah, there's also a GoFundMe. We'll make sure to share it on our pages for your grandma and maybe to benefit some of the causes that she cared about.
Yeah, so I set up the GoFundMe. I wasn't going to. It's not something that I don't want to ask for money. That's not what this is about. It's not money for me. It's not money for my family. It's raising money for a permanent memorial that we want to do in Madison Park for her and Prince. Supporting the charities that she herself donated to that were good causes that she supported. Situational awareness, I have that in there. And I think people are glancing over that, which is fine in lieu of the animals and my grandmother. But situational awareness to me is knowing what's going on around you, knowing what the laws are right now and how they have failed her. Yeah. I want awareness. I want to spread that word. There's also a second donation site through Friends of Madison Park. And I think I've supplied that link too, if you put that on. That is a tax deductible donation site. If there's any businesses or people who are making donations where they care about the tax donation, that is another option to donate through. And I will work with them to get that money to the same causes that the GoFundMe goes to.
Well, Melanie, I appreciate, you joining us, you being a voice for your grandma and, also demanding change. And I think that we should all want that, right? We shouldn't be in a place where someone like your grandma can lose her life in this way. And I do believe there were system failures that we can talk about in the months and years probably ahead. But tomorrow's about your grandma, and it's about honoring her, and anybody who wants to join can. So Melanie, thank you again for being here. And please let us know if there's anything else we can do. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a tough woman right there. And, to see her kind of pour her anger and her sadness into trying to make something positive out of this. I mean, man, it's more than I would be able to do under the circumstances. But if you guys are interested, tomorrow evening, starting at 6:30 p.m. at the scene of where Ruth Dalton was murdered, which is Harrison Street and Martin Luther King Jr. Way. The walk is going to start there. You can bring your dogs. Obviously, I don't think Ruth Dalton would have it any other way. And then the walk is going to proceed to Madison Park, where the organizers say that city leaders will speak. And let me just say about that, it is her assertion that no city leaders have spoken to her family since this happened. Look, did calls get lost or something like that? I don't know. But if that's what she's saying, then they haven't made enough of an effort to reach out to the family. And I think that's unforgivable. And now they want to come to a memorial walk and be, on camera speaking about how horrible and tragic it is. That just doesn't ring sincere to me. I'm sorry, that doesn't ring sincere to me. For true leaders, taking the time I'm not expecting Mayor Bruce Harrell to pick up the phone every time someone's killed in his city, because it happens so freaking often that I don't know how he would be able to do that. But when you're talking about something like this, an innocent person who is brutalized in broad daylight, I mean, absolutely, for this entire community, this has been a horrific, tragic incident. To not just have someone, even if it's not you, Mayor, have someone pick up the phone and call the family and ask, what can we do? How are you doing? What do you need from us? Do you want a seat at the table so we can figure out how to prevent crimes like this in the future? I mean, show some desire to be a leader and to fix the crime crisis that's happening in our communities. So, if they want to show up and speak tomorrow while the cameras are there, fine. But it's what you say when the cameras aren't there that matters most. But I am planning, I was trying to arrange something, but I was able to, and so I will be there at the Walk for Ruth tomorrow evening. Again, 6:30 p.m. and dog-friendly event if you would like to be there. That segment is brought to you in partnership with our friends over at Future 42. As we say so often, turn your frustration into action at future42.org and sign up for their newsletter so you can be alerted to opportunities to take frustration we have over what's happening in our state and try to channel it into positive change.